Okay, I've been trying to get around to making this video for maybe a week or so now. I've just been away on holiday, so I've came back. There was some problem with some of the sound and the audio quality on some videos, so I tried to make that a little bit better for those of you that are watching the uploads. So I want to go through a game that Magnus Carlsen played against Topalov in the MTEL Super tournament in Sofia, Bulgaria. This tournament had gained a reputation for excellent organisation and fighting chess, not least because of its anti-draws policy, which has been happening. I'm not sure, I couldn't say recently, but I'd read a couple of articles where they're saying that perhaps draws in chess are leading to chess that isn't so exciting. But anyway, this year fully lived up with the expectations, with exciting wins, spectacular draws, shock defeats, and a dramatic last round. The excitement began in the very first round with Magnus Carlsen stunning the home crowd with a win against the world number one Veselin Topalov. In fact, Carlsen took the initiative right from the opening and then used his superior mobility to launch a decisive attack on the Bulgarian's king. So here we go, Carlsen Topalov, round 1, Semi-Slav defense. You've got d4, d5, c4, c6, knight f3, knight f6, knight c3, e6, bishop g5, h6, bishop takes f6, queen takes f6, e3, knight d7, knight d3, d takes c4, bishop takes c4, g6, castle, bishop g7, e4, castle, e5, queen e7, queen e2, b5, bishop d3, bishop b7, and then bishop e4. Pretty much open book up to this point. It was a move which I thought was quite interesting. You've got bishop e4, which is ruling out c6, c5. Obviously, if black plays c5, he loses the bishop. So we've got e4, pinning the pawn, the c pawn, to the b7 bishop. So if we continue on with rook on f to d8, rook on a to c1, rook on a to b8, rook on f to d1. 4 rook moves directly after each other, just getting the rooks into the required files. You've then got a6, h4, bishop a7, rook c2, rook on d to c8, rook on d to c1, queen f8, a4, c5, a takes b5, c takes d4, knight takes d4, bishop takes d4, knight takes e4. Got some good exchanges there. People just working down their pieces. Rook takes c2, the exchanges continue. Rook takes c2, a takes b5, and then the lovely knight c6. This is the beginning of the attack, because now black has rook to b6 and then f4. You can see here Chess Magazine even quote Topalov as being boxed in. You can see that the amount of coverage that I haven't completely maintain coverage here, but you can see what I've done. Carlsen's coverage of the board is extremely biased towards the white pieces. Black has very little space. Topalov tries to break out of this situation now then with queen a8, and then Carlsen plays the lovely, which I believe he must have saw with the move c6, which is black must now move his king towards the right of the board with king h7. He obviously can't play king f8, try and kick the knight, because you have rook to c8, queen c8, and the loss of the queen, which is pretty much the end of the game. So that's a clever move, pushing the king onto the king side. As I said, you've got king h7 and then h5, beautiful move, rook a6, h takes g6, f takes g6, rook to c7. Now as soon as white has the rook up onto that file, things are looking difficult now for Topalov. I'm sure he was starting to worry a little bit. You've then got rook to a1, king f2 simply, and then queen d8. Now Topalov miscalculated here, I think, and got greedy. He performs what looks like an obvious move, fork rook and knight, but misses the queen to d3, superior move, hitting the pawn, hitting the knight, and having an almost X-ray attack on the king. Queen takes e7. You would think perhaps the better move would have been queen takes c7 to gain back material, but in the event that that would happen, you've got knight to g5 check. If h takes g5, queen takes g6, king h6, queen h5, bishop h6, and queen to h6 mate. You've also got, if queen takes c7, you would have knight g5, and then rather than h6 takes g5, you could have king to h8, but that again falls for something similar to this. Knight takes g6, king g8, knight e7, king f8, and the queen falls with the fork, knight takes e6. So the game continues then with, rather than queen takes c7, it's queen takes e7, followed by rook takes d7, forcing the queen to move, queen to h4, king to f3, using the king to almost lock in the queen, queen h5, and then king g3. The game ends here. Topalov resigns. The game ends here due to the following continuations. If the queen goes to h1, you've got knight to f6 check. Bishop's obviously pinned by the rook, which leads to king h8, rook d8, bishop f8, rook to f8, king to g7, queen to d7, king to f8, queen to d8, king to g7, king to e7, king to h8, queen to f8 mate. Or, in fact, if the queen tries to use her other escape square, rather than going to h1, if the queen tries to escape via f5, for example, pretty much the same board continuation will continue. You'll have knight to f6, king h8, and then rook d8, and then the same move order which just happened before, with the king being stuck and mate on h8. So I just thought I'd put that game in. That was a good, exciting game with Magnus Carlsen beating Topalov, the world #1. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope the sound's a bit better in this. If it's not, I'm going to have to try and do something to try and sort it out. But yeah, so thanks for watching. Stay tuned.